Okay, and welcome back. We've got a product here from Vevor. First of all, I want to start by saying it came in that box, but I cannot get it back into that box. Just wanted to show how it comes shipped. Otherwise, what we have here is a trimming pole. This is a manual set, and you've probably seen this type of thing before, but you've probably not seen one like this because this one goes up to 27 feet. And the basic gist is you have a whole bunch of sections, you see here at the end, a whole bunch of sections that screw into each other, and you just decide on how many of them you want to put together based on how high you need to trim at. And I'll explain all that in a second. Although that's pretty self-explanatory. And then you have two different heads that you can put on there. Let me try to get a little closer. You've got a straight saw head that you can put on there, and that one's really scary. I've had that one out of the box. I'll show that in a second. And otherwise you have this one that's half saw and half cutter, like loppers, on a hinge system that's really pretty ingenious. And the idea is, well, I'll explain that in a second as well. Just wanted to explain what it is and how it comes. It comes in this really nice carrying case with a handle so that you can take it all to the site. And I know it's not as exciting as gas power or electric, but you look at it this way. You don't have to fill it up with gas and you don't have to charge it. And it can be pretty handy. So let's pull everything out of the box, because there's a lot of stuff in there, and go over the pieces. Okay, so before I pull everything completely out, I just wanted to show how everything was wrapped up inside that case. Everything comes shipped in bubble wrap and wrappers and stuff, just to show that. That's it. Now we move on to actually seeing it. Okay, and so here's a look at what everything really looks like. You got a whole bunch of sections there, and then you have the two cutting heads. And here's a good look at that cutter, the saw. That is really impressive. Now you're probably wondering, why does it have these two teeth on the end, stoppers? Basically that's what they are, they're stoppers. If you've ever been trimming way up in a tree with something like this blade here, what you'll find is you can't really judge what you're doing because you can't see it very well because it's very far away. And if you're sawing way up high, you're kind of leaning on the branch. The whole pole is leaning on the branch. And if you go past the end, kind of the whole pole starts to fall, and you gotta grab it and recover, get it back up there, and then of course it keeps coming off the end, and so on. Obviously these ends are to keep that from happening. Once you're on a branch, you stay on the branch. And that is an impressive looking saw blade right there. And over here is a look at the spare that you get. What'll happen is these things will go dull, and there really is no way to sharpen those, you know, in your own home. And you just want to move on to the second blade. And you get one of these type. But the thing is, if you have the entire head comes off, if you're going to be doing a lot of sawing, just have this one on. If you're going to be doing a lot of lopping, which is what this mechanism is, and I will show that next, then you want to have this head on. And you might not even want to put this saw blade on there to keep things clear if you're just taking off a bunch of really skinny little twigs, growths off of a tree, and I'll show all that. And that is about it for taking a look at stuff. I just wanted to point out also on the main carrying case that there is a large front pocket there, and that is obviously for the saw blades, so that you can put all that in there and not have to fight to get it all back in there, because that's not going to work. So the main part, I'm sure, is just for the poles, and then the side pocket is for the saws, I think. Anyway, so let me get this lopper section mounted on a pole so I can demonstrate that. Okay, here's a closer look at this mechanism. I just have it attached on the top pole. The shortest section of pole is the one where you screw in the attachments, and you'll know that because it's got this big silver metal piece. And the way this works, you've got a double pulley. You pull the rope down, which pulls on that pulley, which is strung through the second pulley. That gives you much more leverage. And then that whole thing pulls this arm down and sends that lopper blade through where you would have your branch in that curved section. And I will demonstrate that right now. Okay, so at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this head on just like one pole, and we're going to demonstrate it actually lopping off a branch. So you can see I'll probably try some small ones and some larger ones. We'll even try one that's as big as the hole, but I don't know if that's going to work. And so I will set up the tripod. Fortunately, this is all going to be done at ground level to show you what I'm doing, because it's going to be really, really hard to film up in a tree. But that tree over there is very low to the ground, and it looks like a good place to set up. Okay, so that was really pretty good. That is a full inch, possibly just over an inch. And I really did do that with the lever system here. And I was wrong, it's not two pulleys. As you can see, the rope goes up through one, down through the bottom one, and then through a second upper pulley. See there? So there's it's a 3-pulley system, providing all that leverage. And yeah, especially when you're using it's got a handle over there. If you were to grab the handle, you got a lot of grip, and it was really no problem. That surprised me, which is good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put together more sections of the pole just to see what that's like. Okay, so I'm about to demonstrate how these sections screw together, and it's very basic, but I wanted to mention the difference in the sections. Now, most of the sections are exactly the same, but then you have a short section, this one right there, with the metal tip. It's the one where the attachments screw on, so that is the top of the pole. But then you also have this other one with this double grip on the end, and that is the bottom pole. And this part right here is the very bottom of the whole thing, so that you can have one hand here and one hand here, and theoretically be holding on to a 27-foot long pole from the bottom. Don't think it's going to work, but we'll see. Anyway, let's show these two sections going together with the other camera. Okay, so there it is, all put together, all 8 sections, and we are at 27 feet long, and you know, it's very light. It's certainly awkward, but the good thing is that it's light, so there is a chance that I'll be able to maneuver this into an upright position. That's exactly what we're about to do, is do this test. Now, this extension is going to be probably pretty rare. This is just for the once in a great while super high branch that you need to get, and so on. Most of the time you'll be using it probably about half this height. But if you have a 27-foot branch, you have the ability to do it with this. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it over there. If you can see, that pine tree is more than 27 feet, and we'll see if I can A, pick it up, and B, how tall is that up against the tree. So that's what we're going to see next. Okay, so I am glad I was able to do that once. And if it looked awkward, it's because it is awkward. I mean, this is a 27-foot long pole. I don't know how tall a pole vault pole is, but I think this is longer. And it is awkward. It is a challenge. Now, something you might notice if you look back on the video, to get it to an upright position, it might be better to rest it on a lower branch where you can pivot it and then go up, rather than the way I did it, straight from the ground when I was over here. Really a challenge to get it to go straight up without any leverage point. But if you were to rest it on a branch and then slide it up a little bit and then slide under it and then go up, that would work better. And I know I was out of frame, but just for example, when I was finally resting on a branch, it was that one right there that's in the foreground, that one right there. You follow it back, I made it all the way up to there. So that shows me that's at about 27 feet. I was holding it up, probably right at about 27 feet. But that is very high. And so the full length, I'm sure of it, the full length is going to be a very rare thing that you do. And I wouldn't recommend doing it too often, honestly. But what we're going to do right now is I'm going to take half of these extensions off, which will put it at right around 13 feet, so that I can show how easily maneuverable it would be at that height. And in fact, I have to cut off a branch right there. You can see that dead branch that's sticking out. We'll take off half these sections and cut that off. Okay, so naturally I'm still a little out of breath here, but it is of course a manual pull saw. But look what it did. Now this is a big cut. You can see there it is 4 inches, about 4 inches along the oval, which is where we were cutting using this blade. Works very well. Of course, it's brand new, nice and sharp, and that's a good thing. And then there's a look at the cut right there. Worked very well. It just, of course, it gives you a workout. If you're used to gas or electric chainsaws, this is not as easy. Anyway, let me bring all the pieces back to where I was filming and we'll wrap this up. Okay, so at this length, very easy to use. Even a little longer would probably be completely fine. Very comfortable with it. It's very light. Of course, it's all fiberglass, which would also, by the way, make it safe around power lines and so on. So, yeah. As long as you don't have all the poles on, it's very easy to use. And it cuts very well. If you look at here, we've got all the examples we just did. We've got 1/2 inch, we got 1 inch, and we got 4 inch. Between the two heads and the Lopper attachment there, you can handle anything that comes your way that will fit inside the saw anyway. So I'd say it's really good. I've used a number of these over the years. They're usually a fixed pole, like a fixed 8-foot pole, and they have a single pulley, and they only have that blade. So this is definitely a step above all that. It is a much better unit, very good quality feel to it, and I'm happy to have it. So what I'll do is I'll put a link to it in the description so that you can pick one up if you want. And I would say it's a good thing to have in your arsenal for that occasional really high limb where you don't want to have to hire a tree service. So anyway, in the outro here, what I'll do is I'll try to get everything back in the carrying case. We'll see how funny that is. So I appreciate y'all watching. Check out the link, and I'll see you in the next one.